Hello and welcome back to the Underrated channel. I'm Jor. I'm the host here, also the host of 88 Sats Radio. And I think I hear my co-host creeping around in the background. We might get a glimpse of him, but we'll see. It is Saturday, Saturday. And for those of you on the channel who might not be that into Bitcoin yet, should remind you here, and actually we'll bring up the agenda right off the hop here. And I'll just give you a reminder here. So why is it called Satoshi Saturdays? Sat, or Satoshi, is a unit of Bitcoin, a fraction of a Bitcoin. So in every one Bitcoin, there are 100 million sats. So think about it just like cents and dollars. In every dollar, there's 100 sats. In every one Bitcoin, there are 100 million sats or Satoshis. And right off the hop here, I think it's important to understand that because a lot of people out there think that they can't afford to buy Bitcoin because it's too expensive. But you can buy fractions of Bitcoin. You can buy $5 worth of Bitcoin. And today in this video, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin makes you war-proof. So here's the agenda. We're going to be talking about Iran. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin, 12 magic words, taking it anywhere you need to go, and how we can compare it to other assets. So with that, let's check out this graph here from Chainalysis. And you can see here quite clearly that Iran understands what's going on here. They understand the impact of Bitcoin and the significance of holding Bitcoin in uncertain times like this. So you can see for the first 2 weeks of January here, they were buying a lot of Bitcoin. And then, of course, there was a blackout here. Blackout started January 8th. I guess that was for the first week then. They were buying a lot. And then obviously exchanges being offline, the internet being down, they couldn't buy a whole lot. But ever since then, look what happened. So the blackout ended, pretty much a flat line there for 2 weeks. And then it just went crazy. So down here's 5 million. I don't know how well you can see this. 5 million, 25 million. That's a lot. That's a significant amount. And so I'm going to explain in this video why. Why would Iranians be buying Bitcoin? It doesn't make sense, does it? In the sense that they just went through a blackout period where their internet went down. And that's one of the biggest pushbacks against Bitcoiners, that what happens if the power goes out? And so clearly Iranians have a much deeper understanding of Bitcoin than the average person, because we're about to find out why, I guess we'll say. So let's start with Bitcoin being bacon. What the heck does that mean? And it's funny because I'm doing a course right now called Bitcoin School, and we're on day number 65, I believe today, or 66, depending on when you're watching this. But we just watched a 45-minute presentation as part of it. I split it into 4 or 5 parts to kind of break it down for people. But I'm gonna play a short clip here from that presentation, and it talks about the 12 magic words here, and it's gonna hopefully explain why Bitcoin is so powerful and so important, almost like a superpower in times of war, which kind of, again, goes against the narrative that you don't want to be holding Bitcoin when the power goes out. But we're going to see why. So let me take this down for a sec. We'll bring it up because we need some sound. So here we go. Oh, I got to change things here. And this is from a presentation from a guy named Gigi, an OG Bitcoiner, one of my favorite Bitcoiners. I would put him in my top 3 all-time people that I've learned from. And so this is Gigi here from a presentation at Baltic Honey Badger in 2022. And he's going to explain the importance and significance of 12 magic words. And hopefully after this short clip here, you'll have a better understanding of Bitcoin and why it's so important here in times of war.
Let's begin.
Let's begin.
Bitcoin. As we all know, Bitcoin is code. It's computer code, but in my opinion, more importantly, it's a moral code. And this moral code is deeply embedded in Bitcoin and in the creation thereof. And the moral code, in essence, says, you shall not inflate, you shall not confiscate, you shall not counterfeit. In short, you shall not steal. That's what Bitcoin is saying, basically. I will say something to you now that might sound outrageous at first, namely, Bitcoin is knowledge. And I mean this literally. So Bitcoin is literally knowledge. And as another guy who is long dead said at one point in time, knowledge is power. Of course, we all know knowledge is power was said by Francis Bacon. And if we can equate that knowledge is power and Francis Bacon and Bitcoin is knowledge, then we can easily deduce that Bitcoin is baking. Bitcoin is baking. I mean that literally, and you might think, has this guy lost his mind? No, that's not the case, because Bitcoin literally is baking, because 24 times the word baking is a valid BIP39 seed phrase, which is a valid Bitcoin wallet. So you can verify this yourself, download something like Blue Wallet, enter baking 24 times, and you will have a valid Bitcoin wallet. So baking times 24, that's Bitcoin. And this works with many different words: flag, gas, grade, slice, solution, summer, day, trade, trap, zebra, and there are others. In total, there are 241 of these special words that work if you just repeat them often enough. Some words you have to repeat 12 times. Some others you'll have to repeat 24. So 12 words in your head, 12 magic words. This is what Bitcoin is, and this is what Bitcoin can be. Funnily enough, 12 times word also works and is also a valid Bitcoin wallet. So this literally is Bitcoin. And anyone can use this. You should not use this. These are terribly insecure wallets, but nevertheless, this is how Bitcoin works. Bitcoin is just 12 magic words. So how in the hell does this work? How can this ever be secure? Why is this the way that Bitcoin works? So Bitcoin finds strength in numbers, strength in large numbers. And your 12 magic words, they have to be 12 random words for them to be secure. If they are truly random, then they are as secure as anything can be. All cryptography is rooted in randomness, or in a concept that we call entropy. If they are random, then your wallet is secure. If they're not random, then they're terribly insecure. That's why you should never use the baking wallet or the word wallet or what have you. So 12 valid words. This is what Bitcoin is. It can't be any old random words. They are very special words and there are checksums involved. So they have to be 12 valid words. And if they are valid, then you have a valid Bitcoin wallet. Funnily enough, 12 and valid and word are one of these valid 12 words. So if you enter 12 times, or valid 12 times, or word 12 times, this will work too. So this is what Bitcoin is, essentially, from a user-facing perspective. Again, if you want to try this out, download Blue Wallet or something similar. Anything that can recover a wallet from a BIP39 seed phrase, and enter 12 times, or valid 12 times, or word 12 times, or baking 24 times, or what have you. All right, this is what Bitcoin is, which brings us to Act 2. Act 2. Black and white. Number 21. So Bitcoin is...
So I wanted to share that. Actually, that was a video that I watched pretty early on in my Bitcoin journey. Again, it's from 2022. And I still remember the exact day when I watched that, where I was, what TV it was on, everything. It just had such a profound impact on me because I never really looked at Bitcoin that way. But that's what it is 12 random words in your head. And it seems when you think about that at the surface level, you think like, well, that's just almost imaginary then. Like what's really even there? But when you understand how important that is, and that's another big blowback or a pushback, I should say, against Bitcoin, is that you can't physically touch it. And so what I want to demonstrate in this video today is that that's actually one of its superpowers, the fact that you can't touch it. And so I want to set the stage there for what I'm going to talk about here, just to give you a little bit of context in terms of the 12 magic words. But let's bring this spreadsheet back up. And so what this means essentially is that if you were in a situation where you were forced to leave your house or your country or whatever, your family, and Bitcoin's basically a representation of all the value. If you had 100% of your wealth in Bitcoin, you would essentially be carrying around 100% of all the value that you've added to the world. Almost like a measure of that, right? And so those 12 words is actually a measurement of the value that you provided. Again, assuming that you have 100% of your wealth in Bitcoin, that would be a direct representation of how much value that you've added to the world. And there's a lot of different things. And I would actually encourage people, even if you're someone new to Bitcoin, go and check out that video. And I'll put a link to it in the pinned comments of this video. It's 43 minutes long, but you can see why the 12 words are important. He gets into the proof of work aspect, why it costs electricity and energy to create Bitcoin, and that's what gives it a portion of its value in a sense. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about being able to move wherever you want to go, hop on an airplane, essentially, with these 12 magic words in your head, land wherever you're going to, and essentially take all of your wealth with you. That's the magic here. And you can't do that with anything else. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about here with how do other assets compare. So let's think about this. Let's just play out the situation here that you are being forced to leave your house, or maybe even not. Maybe you're just somebody who kind of anticipates what's coming here, whether you're in a country like Germany, the Netherlands, Canada, who knows? And you're just kind of worried about things, and you don't want to. You want to be able to take your wealth with you. And a lot of countries have this thing called an exit tax, where they tax whatever assets you're leaving with. They'll take a portion of it. So if you sell your house, your bank account, your stock portfolio, they essentially want to take a part of that as an exit tax. So let's think about a few of these. And when I say Bitcoin makes you war-proof, I think it's important at this stage to say Bitcoin in self-custody makes you war-proof. So in other words, if you have a Bitcoin ETF, that doesn't count. You have the price exposure to Bitcoin. If the price of Bitcoin in fiat terms goes up, you're richer, but you don't have the same superpowers that you would with Bitcoin in self-custody. I should probably put that at the top here in bold, because that's the key here. Bitcoin in self-custody. If you have Bitcoin on the Coinbase exchange, that's not included in this. If you own some strategy shares, that's not included in this. This is Bitcoin in self-custody that you have the 12 words to, and that's essentially the private key to your Bitcoin. And if you have the private key to that Bitcoin, you can send it to anybody you want to, and therefore you have the ownership of that Bitcoin. And so if we think about other assets here, let's just start from the very top, your bank account. Could you leave the country and get access to your bank account wherever you land? Probably not. I don't even know what the situation would be. You might be able to get a friend or a family member to take out the cash and mail it to you. I don't know. But you won't be able to take your bank account with you. Stock portfolio, exact same idea. You might be able to log in from a different country, but how would you convert that into something that you can use? So when you land, let's say that I had to flee and I went to Tennessee, the great state of Tennessee. Let's say that I left Canada and I went to Tennessee and I had a stock portfolio here. Great. I would still be able to log in from Tennessee probably to see my balance there, but that's just a number on the screen. How would I convert that into a sandwich to eat something today? Whereas with Bitcoin, and kind of what we're going to talk about here, Bitcoin is a global asset with global liquidity. And if I wanted to sell that asset in 10 minutes, I could. And you might have to jump through a few hoops. You might have to be in some communities. You might have to know some people, but somebody will be willing to buy that Bitcoin from you in a peer-to-peer way where you can pay for lunch in the afternoon. So stock portfolio is the same kind of thing. You might be able to log in, but how would you convert that into something that you need where you land? Land is the same kind of thing. You'll have to sell it and you might put it in your bank account, but it's the same idea. It's kind of stuck in your geographic region. Plus, you got to find a realtor, you got to pay them, you got to pay a lawyer, you got to pay the transfer fees, you got to find a local buyer for it first before you leave. So there's a lot of issues with these, but the point is you can't take your bank account, your stock portfolio, your land on an airplane. And we'll put your house on here too, because it's the same kind of thing. Real estate, rental house, all this. Well, we should just put real estate maybe here. Same idea. You can't take your real estate on an airplane for obvious reasons. And so you might say, well, gold or silver, and it's the exact same thing. How much gold or silver could you put on your wrist or in your backpack and hop on an airplane and have on the other side of it? Maybe like $10,000 worth, I think it is, which is like 2 ounces of gold now. So not very good. And why Bitcoin overall increases the cost of violence. And maybe I should have put this as a category here. Why Bitcoin increases the cost of violence. Because if you think about this. Let's say that you are somebody who doesn't like trusting other people. You don't like trusting the banks, so maybe you have physical cash in your house. You don't trust your stockbroker, so maybe you have the physical copies of the stock shares in your house. Or you have an ounce of gold. You don't trust the paper and gold or paper gold markets, paper silver markets. And so you actually have custody of that gold coin yourself or a bunch of gold in your basement. So that actually goes around the ability to trust somebody. But the problem is that those assets only are yours. Those assets in custody of yours, like you're the custodian, you're the one holding that gold coin or that silver coin or that $20,000 worth of cash. Those assets in custody are yours. There's no third party trust required there. Until, whoa, what happened there? UBT. Until, that's what you get here on this channel. There's no edits, unfortunately, so I apologize. Until someone more powerful comes along. And this is a very important aspect of Bitcoin to understand. Those assets, cash, gold, land, your house, those assets are yours until somebody more powerful comes along, somebody with a bigger gun, bigger army, because they can take it from you. They can kill you. They can walk in your house, kill you, and take whatever assets you had. And this is a big unlock for people to understand in Bitcoin. The only way to ensure that you won't get my Bitcoin, if you tried to come to my house right now, the only way to ensure that you will not get my Bitcoin is to kill me. So with Bitcoin, and I'm not going to get too in depth with anything here, but with Bitcoin, because they are only 12 words, there's a lot of different techniques and tactics you can use to secure those 12 words. You can put 3 words over here, 3 words over here, 5 words over here. You can spread it out, or you can have 3 different devices where you require 2 devices to unlock it. A lot of different ways to do it. Unlimited amounts of ways to secure your Bitcoin. And if you do it properly, you could actually have 0 Bitcoin at your house. And going back to the fact that it is something that you don't actually have to touch to have ownership of, that's the real unlock here. And so when you think about it that way, the only way to ensure that you will not get my Bitcoin, if I have it secured properly in self-custody, is to kill me. So that's why Bitcoin significantly increases the cost of violence. The only way to ensure that you will not get my Bitcoin is to kill me. And maybe we should put that in here, because that's, if nothing else, what I want you to take away from the video today. The only way to ensure that you will not get my Bitcoin is to kill me. That's so powerful. Like, that is so powerful. And again, you go back to a global currency, global demand, global liquidity. And so wherever you go in this world, you're going to be able to find a buyer for that within minutes of that Bitcoin. It's not going to be tied up in, you don't have to find a local buyer. You don't have to ask anybody's permission to do it. This is the powerful thing about Bitcoin. And this is the powerful thing about it actually not being physical. So pretty important, I think, to understand this. And I hope that this just gives you a little bit more curiosity more than anything else. If you are somebody who doesn't have any Bitcoin yet, it's pretty clear what's playing out here, I think. And, I have my different theories on it overall of what comes next in the world in terms of what countries look like, what governments look like, what big corporations look like. But I think we can all agree on the fact that it's going to get worse. They're going to get more desperate. They're going to do more desperate things, which are going to have a big impact on their citizens in the form of violence, in the form of war, in the form of confiscation. right? So think about somebody coming to my house right now from the government. And if I have my Bitcoin secured properly in self-custody, they can't do anything. What are they going to take? And again, the only way to ensure that they will not get my Bitcoin is to kill me. That is so profound. So that's kind of the what I want to talk about today. I have no idea how long this video is going to be today, but that's what the main part is here. So again, I do a daily show. I talk about Bitcoin every single morning, Monday to Friday. I'm going to put a little scroller here for you to check out if you want to join us. We have probably close to, I don't even know what it would be, 50, 60, 70 people in there every day, talking people, like-minded people, talking about Bitcoin, talking about the macro, talking about finance, talking about all this stuff. And I take pride in the fact that I don't have any sponsors on my channel, 0 sponsors, and therefore 0 influence over my voice. And it frees me up so much. And so I encourage you, if you're interested in this kind of conversation and want to learn more, check out the daily show that we do there. Very easy to find. And if you want to join a community, I would. If you're interested in Bitcoin, I think that's the best way to learn how to use it. Any questions you have, join a paid community. And we have one called the Visionaries here, which is usually on the back screen here, but it's not right now, unfortunately. But we have a community called the Visionaries. And again, going back to how I started the show today with Bitcoin School, I do a different Bitcoin video every single day, Saturday, Sunday included. Last year, we did 365 days of Bitcoin. Those videos are all included in this community. So you get access to people just like you, like-minded people from across the world. And I don't underestimate how powerful your network's going to be in the future either. So you get access to the community, you get access to Bitcoin School, which is a daily video. You get access to all my other courses that I've done, including the 365 days of Bitcoin from 2025. And you have people that can help you, people that want to help you. So I'll have links to that in the pinned comments as well. And then finally, if you want to start buying, I'll leave a couple links as well. So there might be like 3 or 4 links below. I recommend if you're in the US, use River. That's my favorite exchange to use for somebody who's new to Bitcoin. If you're in Canada, I actually recommend using a company called ShakePay. And if you're outside of those countries, I would actually recommend using Kraken, which I recently learned that they actually show proof of reserves, which means that if you send them $100, they have proof that they actually have $100 worth of Bitcoin for you. So if Kraken had a bank run or a Bitcoin run, or if River had a bank run or a Bitcoin run, they prove that they have all the deposits on hand in terms of Bitcoin. So that's why I have no issues promoting them, I guess you'd say. And how to buy. Same idea. There's lots of videos. I have a ton of videos on my 88 Sats radio channel you can check out. But just try it. If you just want to skip the community, if you want to skip the videos, it's very easy to do it. The process could not be more simple. You just find an exchange, you send the money, you buy Bitcoin, and you just leave it there. You leave it there for a while. And I think that that's one of the biggest, it's a net negative in Bitcoin. When people say not your keys, not your coins, and I set it up here, like this is what it is. It's Bitcoin in self-custody makes you warproof. But you have to understand the power of these 12 magic words. And if you don't know how to secure those properly, then they're not going to belong to you for very long. You're either going to lose them, or you're going to put them somewhere you shouldn't, or they're going to be exposed somehow or some way. And that's why I recommend just leaving your Bitcoin on an exchange until you have the confidence and the confidence, the conviction, and the comfortability of storing those 12 magic words, because that's your Bitcoin. And that's the point of the show today, is that those 12 words are your Bitcoin. So you need to make sure you know how to protect those. Otherwise, don't bother. So buy it on an exchange. I mean, if you could find a way to buy, if you have friends or family that are willing to sell you some Bitcoin, do that first. Like I recommend buying like peer-to-peer versus going through an exchange first. But for most people, that's pretty difficult. So keep it simple, at least to get your feet wet. Once you have a little bit more time and experience in Bitcoin, you can start looking for other ways to buy, which is going to give you true freedom. Because if you have Bitcoin that nobody knows you have, and that's another part too. That's another part of Bitcoin that I probably should have put in here. But Bitcoin's really the only asset that you can hold without anybody else knowing. In other words, you could have $20,000 worth of physical cash in your house. Nobody knows you have it. Yes, you could have 10 ounces of gold or 100 ounces of gold in your basement. Nobody knows you have that. But again, it goes back to this. Those assets that you hold, physical cash, gold, precious metals, those are only yours until someone more powerful comes along. You don't have the ability to split them up in different spots without relying on somebody else that you have to trust. So that's what I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this gave you a little bit different perspective in terms of what Bitcoin is, why it's so powerful, why it's so valuable. It's funny to hear people say that Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. Well, number one, you have to mine Bitcoin, which costs a lot of energy and electricity to mine, or you have to buy it from somebody who's mined it already. So the cost of production is there. Plus, you have all these unique characteristics that aren't available in any other assets. And finally, and arguably the most important part, is that there's a fixed 21 million supply, absolute scarcity, which is something that we've never had before as human beings. So it's pretty cool. Global liquidity, global demand, absolute scarcity. It's just at this point, I would say if you made it through this video and you still have no Bitcoin, I just don't know what to tell you anymore. It could not be any more clear and obvious to me that this is something that you should at least be exploring. And you don't have to dump in 100% of your portfolio tomorrow or even in the next couple of years, but just start. Just start with something. Because if you understand how valuable these sats are in reality versus the fiat price of them today, it's just mind-blowing to me. So just get started. That's my only ask today. Buy $20 worth. Continue learning, continue educating yourself, keep showing up here on Saturdays, or check out the 88 Sats Radio channel on YouTube. I have thousands of videos on there, and they're all free. So there's no excuse. Pretty important. And as Satoshi once said, it might be worth getting some just in case it catches on. So I hope you're having a great Saturday today. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.